Am I wrong for faking a work emergency to get out of a wedding? I, 28 female, have been with my boyfriend, 29 male, for about 8 months. Last weekend, 2 friends of his were getting married. He's from Scotland and we live south of England, and so I haven't met any of those friends yet. Originally, the wedding was in 2020. Obviously, COVID postponed it, and then due to a death in the groom's family, it only happened last Saturday. When the original invite went out, my boyfriend was dating someone else for about 2 years and he RSVP'd for a +1. When the new date was decided, they didn't send new invites, just a text or email with the new date and time. When my boyfriend asked me to attend, I foolishly didn't think to ask if the bride knew I was coming because he assured me he had a +1. On Friday, we got to the pre-wedding reception, and when we got to the bride and groom, immediately I realized the issue. The bride is shocked my boyfriend has brought someone. When my boyfriend said he RSVP'd a +1, the bride said yes, but that had been when you were dating the ex. We walk away and suddenly I can hear the bride panicking, saying, "We don't have the seats or the food," and then she starts crying. I feel awful. She spends the next 2 hours crying in the corner, being consoled by her maid of honor that she didn't need extra stress. The groom said that it's fine, but it's obviously uncomfortable, so I faked a call and then came back and claimed a work emergency, said I had to leave ASAP. I apologized to the bride and groom, who stopped crying enough to say it was lovely to meet me. I then got a taxi and a train home. When my boyfriend got back Monday, he asked me about the emergency, and I explained I had lied so the bride didn't have to stress about me being there, and he got livid. He called me an asshole and said that not only did I leave him on his own all weekend, but all of his friends thought I prioritized work over the wedding and that I made a horrible impression. I thought I was helping the situation by not being there and stressing out the wedding party. I said a work emergency because for a family emergency, my boyfriend would have felt obligated to come with me and I wanted him to stay and enjoy the wedding. So, am I the asshole? Am I wrong for inviting my fiance's younger sister to our wedding? I, 25 female, am engaged to my fiance, 32 male. We've been dating for 4 years before getting engaged last year. We've always gotten along well with each other's families and celebrated holidays together. Both of our families were happy when we announced our engagement. I recently found out that my fiance actually has a 15-year-old younger sister, let's call her Anne, who I never met despite her living at her parents' and me visiting often. When I asked about her during a family dinner, they glared at me and coldly said I shouldn't mention her and that I should just forget about her. The intense response kind of shocked me, so I dropped the subject. But I tried to talk about it with my fiance after we got home. He brushed it off and said that Anne doesn't want to be a part of the family, so she's not allowed to join any family events or gatherings until she decides to talk to them. Maybe because I'm generally a curious person, but something just felt off. Even at my fiance's parents' home, there are pictures of their children everywhere, but there's not a single picture of Anne. A few days ago, I contacted Anne, saying I love to get to know my future sister-in-law. We met up in a cafe and she is such a sweet girl, but it turned out she's mute. She can hear, but just can't talk. Her parents got it into their heads that she's able to talk, but chooses not to, because there's no way a child of them would have a disability. So they excluded Anne from the family until she talks. We talked. I talked, she wrote, I don't know sign language, and I feel really sorry for her. I invited her to my wedding, telling her that I'd love to see her there. When I later told this during a family dinner with my fiance's family, they blew up, telling me how I dare to talk to Anne and to revoke my invitation because if Anne doesn't want to talk to them, she doesn't deserve to be a part of the family and shouldn't be allowed to join in family events. They told me I shouldn't stick my nose in their family business. My fiance sided with his parents, telling me to just forget Anne exists and to apologize to his parents. This angered me because I thought my fiance would have my back, and I yelled at them that I'm not going to uninvite her and that she deserves to be treated better. Since then, my fiance has been constantly telling me that I'm behaving like a child throwing a tantrum and to apologize to his family for my behavior. But I just can't accept the way Anne is treated. It also made me worry if we end up having children, would my fiance treat our child the same if they end up with a disability of some kind? Some of my friends are also saying that I should just let it go and not overreact so much, that every family does things their own way, so I should just apologize and do as they tell me to prevent my relationship from suffering. All I gotta say is that if you have a child with this family and your child has some sort of disability or anything, imagine the same treatment happening to them. This whole family is a red flag. What the heck? I feel bad for Anne. I wish you could help her more, but that is crazy.
Am I the asshole for being upset after my girlfriend called me high maintenance? Girlfriend, female 26, and I, male 24, have been together for 4 years, and we moved in together officially 6 months ago. We rented a new and more spacious apartment together. We split rent and most of the expenses, according to our wages. We both work. I have a full-time job and she works part-time. I'll answer more questions if needed. I'm a terrible cook. I don't like it at all, and every time I try to cook something, it tastes awful. So my girlfriend cooks most of our meals. To be honest, Also, I don't do many of the household chores. It's not that I want my girlfriend to do everything on her own, but I was living with my mom before moving out, and she used to do everything.
Uh-oh.
I do other stuff, and I do chores when asked. This is a small issue between us, but not as big. Yesterday, I came back from work around 8, and my girlfriend was cooking for us. We had dinner, and then she was washing the dishes. We were chatting while she cleaned. Then I went to hug her while she was putting everything on place, the seasonings and that kind of stuff. By this time, it was like an hour later. I was trying to hug her and kiss her, but she was like, "Leave me alone a sec," and moving away. She wasn't angry, she was just busy. Then I let her go and tell her something like, quote, "Why are you so cold?" in a whiny voice. I was trying to be funny. She then snapped, quote, "Why are you so high maintenance?" I was kind of shocked by her tone. I thought she was joking, and I said, "You're for real?" And she said, "Yeah. I love you, but you're high maintenance. Sometimes I can't with you." Then I got upset and I told her I'll leave her alone and left to the bedroom. Around maybe 15 minutes later, she comes in and was trying to talk to me, but I was kind of ignoring her and giving her short answers because I didn't want to talk to her. She asked me what was going on, and I told her that we were joking around until she started saying stuff that hurt. She then went off on me. She told me I never help, or if I do, she has to tell me what to do. She says she feels like she's my mom sometimes. We argued, and now we're in a tight spot.
Here's my hot take.
Let's hear it.
I feel like there's nothing wrong with being high maintenance, and there's nothing wrong with like liking a particular lifestyle. But I feel like if you're gonna be a high maintenance man, first of all, that's a little weird. But I feel like if you're gonna be high maintenance and not do anything around the work, like around the house, have money to like expense that. You know what I mean? Like just so your girlfriend's not cleaning the house, like hire a cleaner to come like once a week, or like, you know, order food or whatever. Like just don't make her like slave pretty much with nothing in return. Cause like that would get annoying. That would get very aggravating. But I feel like if you're making enough money, if you want to be high maintenance, like that's cool, but just make sure you're taking like a little bit of the load off. But if she calls you high maintenance and you actually are high maintenance, you're kind of an asshole for getting mad.
Yeah, no, I would not put up with this. This is breakup worthy for me. And like him being like, "Well, I lived with my mom, so I didn't learn how to do anything."
I hate mama's boys, bro.
I can't stand it when moms treat their sons as
Like
a partner.
husbands, yeah.
As a partner. That's not normal.
Am I wrong for checking my husband's dashcam footage on his car without his consent? I, 34 female, live with my husband, 37 male, and daughter, 7 female. My daughter and I recently went on a short trip out of state while my husband stayed as he had work and was supposed to look after our dog. On the last day of our trip, we got a call from my husband who was acting distraught, saying that our dog Ellie had run away. He claimed she just bolted away from the park into some bushes and he couldn't find her. Now, our dog is quite small, a mini poodle mix and almost 13 years old. She's still active, but it's really unlikely for her to run away from us. I was suspicious, but chose to believe my husband, and me and my daughter were in grief, but did not want to blame him. The thing is, when we came back home, he seemed surprisingly okay, unlike us. And ever since the pandemic, my husband started working from home and has always been annoyed at how much attention we gave Ellie. He also hated how Ellie begged to sit on our laps and his while he worked. Am I wrong for checking my husband's dashcam footage on his car without his consent? A few days later, we got a call from an animal rescue in a neighboring state quite far from us that she'd been found at. I picked the phone up and it was our landline, which we almost never use these days. I told my husband she'd been found and he just said, "That's great, I'm so happy." But it felt kind of blunt and insincere. I said it's weird that she got found so far, and he responded that someone must have stolen her and then abandoned her, and this made little sense to me as to why that would happen. So when he was out drinking with his buddies, I copied the videos from his dashcam for the days I was away and saw he indeed took Ellie out of state and clearly dropped her in front of his car. Then he threw a frisbee-like object into a field, yelled fetch, and drove off without her. I was livid and confronted him, and he just stupidly muttered how he dropped her off there so she could find a farm and have a better life. And now he's mad at me for viewing his dashcam. Am I wrong for not canceling a boys' trip upon my wife's request? So here's the backstory. Me, 33 male, and my wife, 32 female, have a 1-year-old son. And back when our son was 5 months old, my friends and I began planning an annual golf trip. The trip would take place 6 months later and was 2 days and 3 nights. As soon as we figured out the date, times, and location, I asked my wife if it was okay to go, and she gave me approval. So I began planning. I found an Airbnb and booked flights. Fast forward to 5 months later, a couple of weeks before this trip. Our son was in the midst of a sleep regression, and he was waking up several times each night. The issue was that my wife still breastfed him and he would not accept me when he'd wake up upset. So as a result, she was left doing all of the tending to him during the nights. So one day she approached me telling me she really didn't want me to go anymore. And she told me she was afraid it would be too much for her alone.